Speed of writing is important too. We have a saying, if you memorize this, this will help you immeasurably. Beware of the person who writes too slow. He has something he doesn't want you to know. When we see writing that is done very carefully, it will have almost a drawn look to it. It's so careful. The person has some sort of major deception going on at that time. So fast writing is a sign of intelligence. Fast writing that is legible is a very good sign of intelligence. But you can really only analyze writing that is designed or written for someone else to read. You can't look at writing that someone has written for themselves in their journal because it won't be typical. We're talking about communication here, their desire to communicate accurately and freely with other people. So, which leads us to, what if we get multiple slants in the same writing? So forward is engaged emotions. Vertical is holding the emotions back and letting the head rule the heart. And backhanded writing in the same sample of writing. So say we get something like this, especially in the same word. Let's write the word little again. You see the multiple slants there? We got forward, 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 oh, sort of vertical, moving a bit to the back, kind of vertical. This is what we call a hell trait. If you figure your life is too much fun, too easygoing, everything's working, it seems so stable, you know, you're happy with everything, I recommend you enter into a serious relationship with someone who has this sort of thing in their writing. Because this is someone who is actually writing with different ego states. Now, I'll just give you the thumbnail sketch. Ego states are sub-personalities. They're not imaginary, they're not psychological, they're burned into the physical structure of your brain. We all have them. We all have 50 to 150 different ego states formed in childhood to work with different tasks and so on. Some of them are called vaded states, meaning invaded by fear, anger, sadness, trauma, and those are the ones that have to be healed. Unless you have an ego state executive, meaning connected to your prefrontal cortex, that neural pathway lit up, you can't fix it. That's why when you're doing EFT sometimes or timeline or something, the person just don't get fixed because you don't have the wounded state executive. You have a different one there, and the other one's watching from the wings. So in the handwriting, we are seeing in the writing two different ego states, at least, showing up in the same sample of writing, switching that quickly. So one is there, and another one's there. You'll find this in your own life. It's normal to switch ego states. We say things like, oh, I really want to go on that trip to Brazil, but I can't afford it this year. You hear the different ego state, the one that takes care of the money, jump in and change everything. You're standing in front of the fridge, can't remember what you went in there for. The ego state that told you were hungry is not the one that showed up in the kitchen. And we'll see this all the time when you're working in therapy with smoking cessation. That's why it can be problematic, because the ego state that makes the appointment is not the one that shows up in your office. So you have to get the wounded state executive. And when you're seeing this kind of thing, you're seeing multiple ego states switching back and forth. And this will be the borderline personality where they have triggers and you don't know what the damn triggers are. That's the problem. And they're wonderful and they're so nice to you and everything's great. And then the trigger goes and they're freaking at you and absolutely insane. And they back and forth like this. So avoid the multiple slant in one sample of handwriting. Oh, I didn't tell you this, but it's important. This maybe should be the last one on this sheet so we don't overly crowd it. If someone writes and they get to the end and they sort of make it fit in, I'm not talking about the drop of one line, and they make it, scrunch it in and again, that's someone who doesn't learn from their mistakes. They're obvious, right? We've got it. You're acting like it's a positive. Wrong ego state, executive. I don't even know what I meant by that, but I thought it would sound funny. All right, fantastic. Woo-hoo. That reminds me of the Homer Simpson line when Bart was reading or something, and he said, Bart, if something is too difficult, it's just not worth doing.